G'day Bomber fans, massive day or two of trade news. There's heaps going on right now and I missed it. I'm late to the party. I heard of this news on Sunday night just before I had to watch Arsenal beat Tottenham, sorry Spurs fans, and then I had work all day yesterday so I couldn't post. I'm a bit late. I'm here now, and to be honest, it's for the best that we did have the day to sit on it because there's been some clarity come through since Tom Morris broke this, what many thought was a massive story. I'll talk about Zach Merrett to St. Kilda. You guys would all know about it, I'm sure. And I'll also touch on some other stories as well that are kind of going under the radar a bit. Today's a bit of a trade update, so let's get into it, starting with our captain. Alrighty, so on Sunday night, Tom Morris shocked the Essendon fan base by claiming that St. Kilda were coming hard for Zach Merrett. Merrett is 28. He is contracted till the end of 2027. He's our captain. But Morris says that the Saints were preparing a Godfather offer, which, if you aren't familiar with the film, that is the old make him an offer he can't refuse line. He said there was yet to be any proposed deal or formal offer, but the Saints were willing to pay him over $1 million a season and extend that existing remaining 3 years on his contract. He also went as far as to say that talks with Merrett's camp were more progressed than what interest usually is. That is what scared a few people, but I really do think that could mean anything. That could have just meant that St. Kilda actually spoke to Merrett's management and said that they were, I guess, cashed up and keen on him. That doesn't mean that Merrett was wanting a move back like many thought, or even involved. That is such a loose way of wording it from Morris that I think is intentionally, I guess, provocative in the sense that he can get clicks from an angry fan base without ever saying anything that could paint the story as false. And I'll get to that soon, because on Monday, both Essendon and St. Kilda came out and put the story to bed, it seems. Essendon simply said they won't be trading Merrett away. He's our captain, simple as that. And to be fair, Tom Morris did say that Essendon could balk at the offer if it ever came. Remember, he never said that the Saints offered him anything, and that is backed up by St. Kilda. They said that they never put forward an offer to Zach's management. The words were, there has not been any formal discussion with Zach or his management. Keyword formal. So to sum it up, before I talk more about the story and the credibility behind it, Merrett will not be moving away this year. The club have said they won't be trading him, and the Saints are yet to put forward a formal offer. But does this mean that Morris's story is actually false, or is this a clever way of clubs hiding it a tad? Well, St. Kilda's press release is really interesting. They pretty much came out and backed up part of Morris's story without denying interest in Merrett. Morris never said that there was a formal offer, and the Saints came out and said the same thing. That is why this press release is interesting to me, because no one was claiming that the Saints had already offered Merrett a deal, but they came out and felt the need to say they hadn't formally offered him a deal. That is why I think Morris and this story can't be discounted just yet. I do, however, think the stakes, or I guess importance of this, kind of blew out past where they needed to be. Really, this could just be a cashed up club asking the question and the other club simply saying no. That is what this story could be all in all, but I'm also not going to claim that Morris was wrong with his story. The fact that the Saints came forward and said there isn't an offer in place for Merrett and no formal discussion, that doesn't prove anything against the initial story. It kind of kills it a bit and means there's now no legs with it. We'll probably stop hearing about it in a few days as other stories arise, but the Saints didn't deny interest in Merrett, and that was a big point out of the initial breaking news, the fact that St. Kilda were interested and prepared to offer Merrett a Godfather deal, not the fact that one had already been offered already. But I think this could just be St. Kilda asking the question to a bunch of teams. Remember, similar stories like this came out with Luke Davies-Uniacke recently at North Melbourne with St. Kilda, and Andy Brayshaw from Freo as well. So it seems like the Saints are cashed up and trying to overpay for as many stars as they can. And also, when you think about Merrett and his frustration with a lack of success, why would money tempt him away? I'd be worried if a club like Geelong came for Merrett. No offence, St. Kilda fans, but the Saints have won one premiership and 27 wooden spoons in their history. I know things can change fast in footy, but why would a success-driven Merrett go play at St. Kilda, the least successful club in AFL history? That is why I never really cared for this story past the fact that St. Kilda wanted a star player. I think that's it. That's all it ever will be. I would hate to be proven wrong, so touch wood, but I'm pretty confident we won't hear too much about this one again. Famous last words, though. But yeah, to sum it up, St. Kilda are interested in Merrett. Essendon said no. Merrett has probably never been involved in this. But yeah, I guess we might hear more about it from Merrett when he actually publicly speaks. Alrighty, a bit of an update on Jake Stringer. It seems like he is really set on leaving the club. We talked about that in trade update last week. Him apparently telling people he's played his last game for the club. Cal Toomey said so. That seems like it's facts. He came out on Gettable last week and said that, Cal Toomey. He said that Collingwood were keen, mostly because of coach Craig McRae. But it does seem like a deal could be hard to get done just because of the lack of available suitors. There are now reports that Stringer is not really a sought-after player across the comp and may struggle to find teams willing to part with draft picks for him. Now, Stringer is set on leaving, it seems. Even players like Andy McGrath have come out and said in interviews that they don't know where Stringer's going to be. That's the word on the street. He wants to go, but he is technically contracted to the club. This is where it all starts. The Bombers not wanting to extend him on that existing 1-year extension he has through a games played clause. But as I said, there aren't many clubs that see Stringer as a requirement to bring in this off-season, so it's a bit of a lull right now. I'm sure with trade radio coming in soon, we'll hear more and more about it. Maybe by the time this video is out, because they have their launch tomorrow, I guess today, by the time this video is out. So we could be hearing more news about this one, but as of right now, Jake Stringer wants to leave and there aren't many options for him out there. I think cost is an interesting subject too. I reckon if he does go, it would probably be for unders just because he wants to leave and is getting older. I reckon now I'm pretty not happy, I guess content with him departing. I want him to stay, but not if he doesn't want to. I never like the idea of holding players to contracts if they want to go this late in their career. So hopefully for Jake, he can move on, because the last thing we want is him to come back to the club feeling betrayed by it and uneasy in the environment. That won't help his footy at all. Alright, I don't remember if I discussed this last time or not, but in case I didn't, I'm just going to quickly go over it again. Peter Wright will be staying at Essendon next year. His exit meeting with the club must have come with, I guess, the fear of a trade. I don't know. There were stories, but apparently he and the club have informed each other of the desire for him to stay, so he won't be traded this year. I know this is a popular one down in the comments for trade ideas, but it's not going to happen. I think that is reasonable, considering Stringer could be on the move. I get that Wright is not great right now, but getting rid of him and Stringer would halt the development of Caddy, and I do truly believe that. You can't throw a first-year player in the deep end that much with no depth behind him at all. Wright won't be leaving, and that is the correct call, I think. Next year, however, is a completely different story, one that we probably can't speculate on this early. And before I go, a real quick update on Carlton. Now, we aren't going to be committing to big trades in a draft year where we need more capital, so keep that in mind here. We could go through the trade period without picking anyone up, who knows, but Carlton have told 3 pretty good players that they should explore their options. Lewis Young, key defender, Matt Kennedy, a midfielder, and Matt Owies, a 30-odd goal forward, have all been placed on the trade table effectively. Now, we can't afford to get any of these guys in with this year's draft capital because we do need points to match a bit on Kako. And it might be a bit of a quick fixy thing to do to just offer future picks. So these aren't guys that we may end up chasing. Not saying we're linked or anything, but it's interesting that 3 handy players are on the trade table. Matt Owies especially is wild to me. He has kicked 60 goals from 41 games in his last 2 seasons. The guy scores goals. He's consistent. Maybe there's another issue there. I don't know. Something we don't know about. But that is the kind of player you would think clubs want. So we're going to see what happens there. There's a bit of a clean out at Carlton, it seems. Lewis Young, key defender. So maybe if Laverty does leave, because remember there are rumours there, so if he does leave, maybe that opens the door for someone like Josh Rotham or Josh Shackey or Lewis Young. So who knows, we'll see what happens with these guys. Alright, that is that quick trade update for you guys. There is plenty going on right now with the club, not a lot of it is good news, as you can tell. I think that's because of a draft approach this off-season, which isn't a bad idea at all. I'm all for it. But that's all for now. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and as always, go Bombers.